Welcome back to another VTScada training video. This is the second video in the Parameterized page series. To realize the full power of those, you also need user-defined tags, user-defined widgets, and a few expressions. The expressions don't need to be complicated, but you won't go far without them. Therefore, this video is all about expressions, especially expressions in context tags for user-defined types. And what is an expression? Well, an expression is any bit of code that returns a result. Think of it this way. If you wrote x equals 2 plus 2, then 2 plus 2 is the expression. So when writing an expression, you never type x equals. You only write the part that returns the result. That result becomes the value of wherever you wrote the expression. Before we go too far, there are a couple of rules to know. Most of the rules can be summed up in one. Write tidy code. Mistakes are made by leaving out spaces, not closing parentheses or quotation marks, or by putting pieces together in the wrong order. Refer to the VTScada documentation for the complete list. Now let's see how it's done by creating some tag parameter expressions. It's a great idea to use a context tag to group together all the tags that relate to some piece of equipment. It's even better if you can move the configuration up into the parent. Then, instead of opening every properties dialog for every child tag, you can configure them all from one list of properties. Here's how. I have a simple pump context with 5 child tags. I want the description of each child tag to tell me which pump it is a child of. The parent context has that information within a property called shortName. So for every child tag, I create an expression like so. Open the child tag's properties, right-click on the description parameter, click Add Parameter Expression to open the expression editor. Type the expression as shown. Click OK. If you have it right, it will look like this. Now be careful. The most common mistake is to type the expression directly into the field. That just creates a funny-looking description. If the field doesn't turn blue, you don't have an expression. To review, right-click, open the expression editor, and work there. You can use this for every child tag property that will change from one instance to another. Let's say that every pump can have a different range of flow rates. Some are 200 gallons per minute, some are 500, and so on. First, create a property in the context to hold that value, like so. Open the Properties dialog of the context. Open the Settings tab. Here you can have as many properties as you need. I already have one that I'll talk about soon. Click the Add button to open the dialog. Name the property using a single word that makes sense for the purpose. Maybe Flow Scaled Max. Set an initial value. Then provide a friendly label. It's a good idea to include the name in the label. Click OK until you're out of the Properties dialog. Now open the analog status tag, Flow. Open the Scaling tab. Right-click on the Scaled Max property. Open the expression editor. Add the expression ... Flow Scaled Max. The ... part tells it to look upwards until it finds the property that you created in the parent context. Click OK. The value of the property now shows up in this tag. Here's an improvement. Right now, if a property is empty in the context tag, nothing shows up in the child tag that uses that property. So we change the expression by adding a pick valid. The pick valid function uses the first good value that it sees. If the context tag has a value for flow scaled max, the flow rate will use that. If it doesn't, then the rate will be the usual default of 100 because we put that into the pick valid. You can use any value that you want as the fallback. One more example. This system uses a Modbus driver and is configured so that if there's a second pump in the station, all of the I/O addresses are the same as the first, plus 100. In the context tag, I added a property for that offset. And in the I/O address field of every child tag, there's an expression that adds the offset to the address. Note that this defaults to 0 using a pick valid. It does take a while to do all this extra work, but if you have a lot of pumps or whatevers, it will be worth the effort. In the next video in the series, we'll turn this context into a new type, making this feature even more powerful. And as always, there's more detail to be found in the documentation.